Why hello there, I'm Joey Hollywood and today I'll be reviewing the shot-on-video movie Blood Sisters from director Joe Castro, who's famous for making such classics as the Terror Toons trilogy. Which I haven't seen, but from the trailer I just have so many questions. They look like the shot-on-video equivalent of that story from the Twilight Zone movie, where that kid traps the family in that cartoon world, but I digress. Blood Sisters stars a bunch of people that you've probably never heard of because they didn't do much else after this, with the exception of Phoebe Dollar, who went on to make such classy titles as Werewolf in a Woman's Prison, Orgy of Blood, and of course, Orgy of the Damned. The movie starts off with a vampire luring an unsuspecting victim into a sorority house.
This is like a dream come true.
And it's decorated like someone cramming for a Halloween party. Jesus, this place looks cheesier than the set of Midnight's Haunted Drive-In.
Who are you?
Every time a vampire tries to kill someone in this thing, the movie just stops and it turns into a stripping montage. This borders on softcore porn, and these scenes go on forever. And, oh wait, I guess none of that actually happened.
Dinner.
And then the credits start happening and they use clips and audio from later in the movie, thus giving away big plot points like one of the main characters becoming a vampire later on in the movie. The movie takes place at Dunwich University because someone's a Lovecraft fan. And it's here where we are introduced to Tracy, our main character, who is creepily taking pictures of random people. I actually love this sort of thing. It's the only, you can only get it from these old like shot-on-video movies. These two things have no continuity with one another. They're completely separate. Even the audio doesn't even match. I don't know, I just think it's kind of cute. It's kind of like when your son draws like a picture and it looks terrible, but you hang it up anyways because, you know, despite having no talent, they did something and you appreciate that. Oh yeah, that picture's gonna come out great. Rule of thirds are for suckers. After that, she meets her roommate, where they have awkward, forced, awful, Oscar-worthy dialogue.
You know what they say about business majors? That you don't really know what you want to do? That's me to a T! That's my roommate!
And despite only knowing each other for a few days at most, they act like they've known each other forever. They act like they're, dare I say, blood sisters?
You know, I think the professors are killing the students.
On her first day of class, and that's totally a classroom. Yep, those are totally the chairs they use on the college campus. The teacher goes on about oddly specific things about secret societies, and basically tells the audience that those things are going to come into play later at some point. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is about to come up.
Yo, Cindy, what's up, girl?
Thank God it's you, Joe.
What are you doing?
I've lost my keys.
Well, you need a ride? Take you wherever you want to go.
Oh, it's beautifully awkward. I love it. It's beautiful, it's horribly awkward, and it's lit like Dario Argento's bathroom. And another stripping scene happens that actually isn't happening and doesn't progress the plot any further and has no impact on the story. God, I'm having Sucker Punch flashbacks. It's scaring me, it almost hurts. Ah! At some point in the movie, our main character finds a bloody towel and rightly assumes it's connected to the disappearances. But her roommate convinces her that it has something to do with this chick's on her period.
So one of them was surprised by a monthly visitor. Stuff like that happened.
You think she had her period?
Yes.
I didn't even think of that.
And it's one of the cringiest scenes ever constructed by a human being.
She invited us to a secret sorority rush thing tomorrow night. You're kidding me! Oh my gosh, you have to be bullshitting.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Well, let's go celebrate, see?
Will you stop covering yourself? You've got to show off what you've got to the world, okay?
Yeah, because nothing says sexy like an Adidas jumpsuit spread out over your shoulders. Next time we might do something even more risky, like show your ankles. This chick reminds me of the girl from the Shine On Me music video by Big D and the Kids Table. And that's a perfect representation of me at parties.
You have quite a place here.
But with the Suspiria lighting and bad Halloween decorations. They sound like they're biting into an apple.
Kent!
Lois Lane here sees this guy covered in blood and, of course, waits till the next day to notify the authorities. Not like it matters, because this cop obviously does not want to be there.
Come with me if you want to live.
My name is Officer Marek. Are you Kent?
And he gets pretty upset with Tracy, even though what he just witnessed was really, really suspicious.
Was that Kent?
I don't believe it.
Was that Kent?
Yes.
This is one of those jealous ex-girlfriend things. I don't want to hear from you again.
Wait till I tell Andy about this, he might give me my bullet. Now, despite thinking that the sorority sisters have an involvement with the disappearances on campus, she agrees to their blood ritual hazing to get into the sorority for reasons. And it goes on for a bit, just like every other stripping scene in this movie. And yeah, it's very weird.
Time to complete initiation.
What is going on?
I don't know, but a moment ago you were suckling off that woman's teats. They get turned into vampires, which shouldn't be a surprise to you at all because they give it away in the opening credits of the movie. And the funny part is, Tracy was warned something like this might happen way earlier in the movie and is told to seek out the professor because he might be able to help her. So, of course, Lois Lane here decides to see him after she exhausts every other possible option. And it's not like this guy has a whole lot of insight despite being, spoiler alert, a vampire himself. He just tells her broad things that everyone knows about vampires. Heck, he even sells her a book.
It's everything you need to know about vampires. I wrote it myself. It's considered the Bible on the subject. It's $15. I'll give it to you for 10.
And it doesn't offer anything new besides, the standard stake through the heart, standard stuff. It's at this point that she tries to defeat the vampires on her own, carving stakes in her dorm room. And her roommate comes and accidentally stabs herself to death, which is beautiful. It was a beautiful scene. I loved it.
I thought we were friends. I thought we were sisters. Ah!
Blood sisters.
And after this, our mild-mannered hero just starts staking people and teams up with the professor in defeating the main baddie, I guess? I don't know. She doesn't seem like all that much of a threat, but apparently she is. Apparently she's a big threat to the vampire order. This vampire order that, in the words of the professor, is the real power in the world, but was somehow powerless to stop these three sorority sisters from killing people they weren't supposed to kill. So it really honestly seems like they don't have any power at all.
Silly Tracy. You're in trouble now.
An awkward fight ensues, and one of the strangest scenes in the entire movie happens where, despite you seeing three other vampires killed in this movie with a stake through the heart, one turns into a burnt up corpse, the other one just looks normal, just with a stake through their heart. But for some reason this one is extremely different because she has a worm that looks like one of the tongues of the graboids comes out, and they have like a tug-of-war with it. It's amazing.
bitch!
And keep in mind, this is supposed to be all happening in the basement that looks suspiciously like a garage. That's why I love these shot-on-studio movies. They just take a level of imagination that just you can't get with a normal film. And if you're hoping for a little bit more closure, this may not be the movie for you because it ends just as abruptly as it starts. Tracy and her boyfriend, who I won't be bothered to check his name because he's more unimportant than you think. There's this kind of love thing that they're trying to push with this movie. They're trying to get, they want to do this thing where they're like, oh, you want to see these people together, they have all this chemistry, but they don't. Every scene they have together is awkward and sometimes very creepy.
Hey!
Hi.
Hi. Looks like I finally got you alone for once, now no one can interrupt us.
Nothing illustrates this more than the scene where she starts dressing in front of him. And it might have been a little cute, even under the restrictions that this movie had, but the music just totally kills it.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
If I'll be quite honest, I'm not sure which one's the worst actor.
Tracy, what's the matter? You sounded scared. What happened?
You're never gonna believe me.
Probably not. What happened?
Oh
They're neck and neck the entire movie.
Cheeseburger!
Melissa is Tracy's roommate, and she's probably the most entertaining person in this movie, like legitimately. And not for maybe good reasons. She's just so dang funny. Unintentionally, I think. Like, there's obviously scenes in this where she's trying to be legit funny.
I'm sorry, Ken. I'll have to see you at the party.
What are you talking about? Well, can't she just wait outside for a couple of minutes?
A couple of minutes? If that's how long it's gonna take!
Professor Fry, I think, is supposed to be a Peter Vincent type character, although he's criminally underused, and he just delivers information that's kind of standard, which is sort of a pet peeve I have with vampire movies. It's like, oh yeah, I need to read this book or go on the internet to learn about vampires or werewolves, because it's totally not ingrained in our society what those things are. And then we have the sorority sisters or the blood sisters, whatever you want to call them, and there's no real use talking about their characters because they act so different throughout the film. Like, the end of the movie, they just act like teen valley girls that just complain all the time. And then some moments they just act like super creepy, stereotypical vampires. It doesn't make any sense, but it's funny. Now, if you're interested in picking up this little gem, it actually is available on Blu-ray. And not just Blu-ray, a 3D Blu-ray. Well, not really. You see, the Blu-ray is actually just a normal Blu-ray. It's not actually a 3D Blu-ray. The film was shot on a camcorder with an attachment to give the illusion of 3D. Of course, the 3D doesn't necessarily work unless you have special glasses that, as cheap as I found them, were only like were around $30. Like, they're not worth it. And the 3D, you can't even notice that it's supposed to be in 3D. And if you do happen to have the glasses, they actually have a setup on the Blu-ray menu. You look at this letter, and it's supposed to look like a completely different letter if you have the 3D glasses on, which I'm not entirely sure how that works, but okay. And if you do think about getting this movie on Blu-ray, it also comes with bloody tease, which I'm sure is just as high quality. In conclusion, this movie is several frames illuminated in the correct order to create the illusion of motion. To be specific, 35 frames per second to create the illusion of motion, with audio synced up to it. And in other words, it's a movie that you can watch on Blu-ray if you so choose. That's really all I have to say about Blood Sisters. I'll see you next time in my next video, which will be another thrilling vampire movie. See you next time.
it.